Picture this, a high school romance turns deadly, leaving a young girl's body hidden in a public park. A ex-boyfriend convicted, yet a podcast ignites global doubt about the case. Stay tuned as we uncover the chilling details of the Adnan Syed case, as well as the psychological factors that trigger this tragedy. Please remember, this video contains graphic content, which some viewers might find disturbing. Hae Min Lee, an 18-year-old high school senior at Woodlawn High School in Baltimore County, Maryland, was known for her bright smile and friendly demeanor. Born in South Korea on October 15, 1980, she immigrated to the US with her family in 1992 and quickly adapted to her new home, making friends and excelling in her studies and athletics. Hae was responsible for picking up her younger cousin from kindergarten after school and was very diligent about this duty. However, on January 13, 1999, she never made it there. The initial hours of Hae's disappearance did not stir immediate alarm, but as night fell with no word from Hae, concern escalated into fear. The search began, with friends, family, and eventually the police combing the area for any sign of her. It wasn't until February 9, 1999, nearly a month later, that a devastating discovery was made. A passerby found Hae's body in a shallow grave in Leaking Park, known for its unfortunately grim reputation as a common dumping ground for bodies. The autopsy confirmed the worst fears. Hae Min Lee had been strangled to death. The investigation quickly turned towards those closest to Hae, including her ex-boyfriend, Adnan Syed. The two had been in a hidden relationship known only to close friends due to cultural differences and family expectations. As investigators dug deeper, they pieced together a timeline of Hae's last known hours, relying on interviews with friends, school staff, and Adnan himself. The case hinged on the testimonies of those who saw Hae and Adnan on January 13th. Friends recounted their interactions with the pair, noting nothing particularly out of the ordinary. Adnan, like Hae, was a senior at Woodlawn High School. He was known as a charismatic and popular honor student, involved in various extracurricular activities, including track and field. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly well-adjusted exterior, investigators believe lay a motive for murder. The case against Adnan began to take shape when attention was drawn to the nature of his and Hae's relationship. Friends described it as passionate but also tumultuous. After Hae broke up with Adnan, those close to the pair had differing opinions about how each had moved on, with some suggesting that Adnan had not taken the end of the relationship well. The linchpin in the case against Adnan was the testimony of Jay Wilds, an acquaintance of his. Jay came forward with a story that stunned all who heard it. He claimed that Adnan had confided in him about wanting to kill Hae, and on the day of her disappearance, Adnan had shown him a body in the trunk of a car. According to Jay, he had then helped Adnan bury Hae's body in Leaking Park. The motive, as presented by the prosecution, was that Adnan was driven by jealousy and hurt pride after Hae had ended their relationship and started seeing someone else. The prosecution's case was bolstered by cell phone records that they claim placed Adnan at the park around the time of Hae's burial. These records were a new form of evidence in criminal trials at the time and were used to corroborate Jay's testimony about the events of that day. Consequently, Adnan was arrested on February 28, 1999 and charged with first-degree murder. The trial began in December. The prosecution painted a picture of a young man scorned who had premeditated the murder of his ex-girlfriend in a fit of jealousy. Jay's testimony was central to their case, supplemented by the cell phone records. The defense, however, argued that there was no physical evidence linking Adnan to the murder and that Jay's story was inconsistent and unreliable. One of the most contentious points in the trial was the lack of attention given to a potential alibi witness for Adnan. Asia McLean, a classmate, claimed she had seen Adnan in the library at the time the state claimed he was committing the murder. This testimony was not pursued by Adnan's original defense attorney, Cristina Gutierrez, a point which would later become crucial in appeals for a new trial. After 6 weeks of testimony and evidence, the jury returned with a guilty verdict, convicting Adnan of first-degree murder, kidnapping, robbery, and false imprisonment on February 25, 2000. He was sentenced to life plus 30 years in prison. The verdict was a devastating blow to Adnan's family and supporters who maintained his innocence. The trial's conclusion, however, was far from the end of the story. In the years that followed, the case against Adnan Syed would be subject to intense scrutiny, appeals, and a re-examination that would captivate millions worldwide. The question of Adnan Syed's psychological states and what may have led him to commit the crime, if he indeed murdered Hae Min Lee, has been a focal point in the case. Disclaimer, these are only speculations and do not reflect a professional psychological analysis. In cases involving romantic relationships, especially those that have ended or are strained, feelings of jealousy or rejection can be powerful triggers. Hae breaking up with Adnan could have led to a sense of loss, betrayal, or wounded ego, and potentially could have escalated to obsessive or violent behavior, especially after Hae got into a new relationship. When someone with a particularly fragile self-esteem or narcissistic tendencies feels slighted or rejected, they may react with disproportionate anger or aggression. This is often referred to as narcissistic injury. In some relationships, there might be dynamics of control and power that can lead to violence if the person feels their control is being challenged or taken away. An individual's cultural background, personal history, and experiences can shape their behavior and reaction to certain events. This might include how they handle rejection, anger, conflict, and stress. The nature of this double culture couple could have created a fertile ground for this factor. Years passed with Adnan Syed behind bars, his case seemingly settled in the eyes of the law. However, the story was far from over. In 2014, a new chapter began, one that would bring the case back into the public eye and introduce it to a global audience. This resurgence was due to the investigative journalism podcast Serial, hosted by Sarah Koenig. Serial launched in October 2014 and quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Koenig, a former Baltimore Sun reporter, revisited the details of the murder of Hae Min Lee and the subsequent conviction of Adnan Syed. Each episode of Serial focused on different aspects of the case, from the relationship between Hae and Adnan, the alibi witness Asia McClain, to the credibility of JY's testimony and the use of cell phone records. The podcast presented a narrative filled with doubt and ambiguity, highlighting the complexities and potential failings of the criminal justice system. The renewed interest in the case had tangible effects. It brought Asia McClain, the alibi witness, back into the spotlight, leading her to come forward with an affidavit reaffirming her account of seeing Adnan in the library at the time of the murder. This development would become a crucial element in the appeals for a new trial. Following the explosive popularity of Serial and the renewed scrutiny it brought to Adnan Syed's case, a series of legal battles and appeals ensued, each aiming to address the alleged shortcomings of the original trial and subsequent legal proceedings. The first major breakthrough came in 2016. Based on the new evidence, Adnan's legal team filed for a post-conviction relief hearing. The focus was on two critical claims: the ineffective assistance of his original trial lawyer, Cristina Gutierrez, and the reliability of the cell phone tower evidence that placed Adnan at the park where Hae's body was found. In February 2016, the post-conviction relief hearings commenced. Asia McClain testified, affirming her account of seeing Adnan in the library at the time the state claimed he was committing the murder. Additionally, an expert criticized the cell phone tower evidence, stating that the incoming call data, which had been crucial to the prosecution's timeline, was unreliable for determining location. After months of deliberation, in June 2016, Judge Martin P. Welsh vacated Adnan's conviction and ordered a new trial, citing the ineffective assistance of counsel regarding the alibi witness. This decision was a monumental victory for Adnan and his supporters, but it was far from the end of the legal saga. The state appealed Judge Wells' decision, leading to a series of legal back and forth that would continue over the next few years. In March 2018, the Maryland Court of Special Appeals upheld the decision to grant Adnan a new trial, only for the Maryland Court of Appeals, the state's highest court, to reverse this decision in March 2019, denying him a new trial and reinstating his conviction. Despite these setbacks, the fight for Adnan's freedom continued. Eventually, Syed was released on September 19, 2022. As we reach the conclusion of our exploration into the Adnan Syed case, it is clear that this is more than just a story about a single crime or a singular legal battle. The journey through the case has revealed the complexities of the legal system, the challenges of seeking truth in a sea of conflicting testimonies and evidence, and the profound impact that media can have on public perception and legal proceedings. What do you think? Do you think Adnan Syed is the actual killer of Hae Min Lee? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you for joining us today on Casual Evil. Until next time, stay safe and keep seeking the truth.